saluting our fallen hero. We start now with a few words from another Navy veteran, a World War II veteran, the 35th President of the United States, John F. Kennedy. When remarking on his time in the Navy, he said, "I could think of no more rewarding a career." Any man in this century who maybe asks, "What did I do to make my life worthwhile?" can respond with a great deal of pride and satisfaction, "I served in the United States Navy." All of you are able, please rise.
I'd like to welcome you all to the remembrance of Ross Tom, to family members and to friends. My name is Sam Catalina. Ross was born in Placerville, California on August 3rd, 1938, and he grew up in San Francisco. He was married to Adeline Adeyama and is survived by his daughter Trina, who is recovering from surgery and not able to be with us today. He was one of 4 brothers, born of Fred and June Tom. He is survived by his brother Walter. Ross also loved his family members, Cynthia and Angela Tom, and sister-in-law Josephine, but he was particularly very close to his godson, Greg Louie, who he spent most of his holidays and his earlier years with. Ross served in the Navy for almost 8 years. He fought in the Korean War. He was so proud to be in the service and to serve his country. In civilian life, Ross worked in security for the San Francisco Municipal Railway. In later years, he became a karaoke DJ, and that is how I met Ross. I met Ross about 2009, 2010, and he was introduced to me by Mark DeLuce. I met them at a restaurant on El Camino in Millbrae. And all the food that Ross ordered was all pork, fat, everything. It was so good. It was such a great meal. Over the years, I got to know him. He invited me that night to his karaoke place in Bel Mateo. And it's been, a very wonderful friendship from that point on. One song that I sang at Bel Mateo one evening was That's All That Matters to Me. And from that point on, Ross would always say, "Can you sing that for me? Can you sing that for me?" And then I said, "Why don't you sing it, Ross?" He goes, "Well, I can't do it the same way." And I said, "Well, go ahead and do it." And he finally did. But that was one of his favorite songs, and I always enjoyed doing it for him. Now, before we get to the open mic, we'll allow each of you to, pay your final respects to Ross and to share your fun stories with him. Let's sing a song a cappella, and I know it's going to be a little tough with our mask on, but I think in remembrance of Ross, I think it'll be a great song that we can all share. And I know he's listening to us right now, so we better be singing in key, okay? Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Though through many dangers, toils, and snares, we have already come. 'Twas grace has brought us safe thus far, and grace will lead us home. Thank you. And for those of you who'd like to come up and just say a few words about Ross, I think it'll be great for us to share our experiences and Also to remember the love that he brought when he was around us. I know he always made me laugh and tell me not so nice jokes, but it was Ross. So just step up and let's pay tribute to Uncle Ross. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara. I thought I finished crying, but I guess not. I have a couple of messages here from some of his family members. This one is from Josephine, and she says, "To my brother-in-law Ross, when I first met my brother-in-law Ross for the first time, he thought he would be taller than me. When he knew I was a little taller than him, he smirked and said, 'How come another one is taller than me?' He was the funniest person in the family, always bringing laughter. Ross, now you are reunited with your parents and brothers. We will always miss you and love you. Sorry, Ross, I couldn't go to your memorial service. Please forgive me." I'm sure he has already. I have a voice memo from his niece, Cynthia. See if I can play it here. Oh, I can't find it now. Life.
Hi, I'm Ross's niece, Cynthia Tom. I want to thank everyone that's been a part of my Uncle Ross's life. I'm not sure why, but unfortunately, the Tom family were not close when I was growing up, so it wasn't until the last couple years where I was able to connect with him to really get to know him. During that time, I had the pleasure of hearing his wild, adventurous stories of his life. What a fantastic storyteller. The glow in his eyes, the smirk on his face.
Oops. Sorry about that.
Fantastic storyteller. The glow in his eyes, the smirk on his face. He was having as much fun reliving the story as I was hearing it. My favorite story, and one that he told me more than once, I think lives in infamy. I know he'd have immense pleasure if I were to share it with everyone. During our hangouts, I'd ask him a lot about growing up with my grandparents, my dad, David Tom, and my Uncle Jerry. Now, my dad, Ross's older brother, was a big, strapping man, about 6 foot tall. My Uncle Jerry was about 6'3", 6'4", so it was quite an anomaly that Uncle Ross was, shall we say, vertically challenged. He couldn't have been taller than 5'5". People that know my dad would probably describe him as a gentleman, despite his rather large stature. He was a lover, not a fighter. What my dad lacked in spirited courage, my Uncle Ross more than made up for. Ross told me about how one time during high school, my dad was getting beat up and picked on by another large guy. I guess this guy had been just bullying my dad. So Ross had just about enough of seeing this. So one day when this was happening again, Ross came up behind this guy, and pardon me, I'll say it the way he told me. He shoved a pitchfork up this guy's ass and lifted him off the ground and said, "Don't fuck with my brother." He would then squeal with delight because he got so much joy reliving the story and telling me what a badass he was. Ross was a real bad boy, in the best way. He never let his size stop him from protecting the people he loved or standing up for what he believed in. I think that's really inspirational. No matter how small you think you are in this world, you can make a big difference. I will miss you, Uncle Ross. You are now reunited with your family, friends, and both of your brothers. If I know you, you're still raising hell up in heaven. May God bless you. Thank you.
I first met Ross back in 1994 when he had at the Jade Palace, which was a restaurant and karaoke club. He bought it in 1995 and had the time of his life. We'd party every night, Monday through Sunday. At 2 o'clock in the morning, when everything was supposed to shut down, he'd pull the drapes and said, "Let's party on." Sometimes we'd dance to 5, 6 in the morning and go to work. So it was fun times. He loved that period of his life. Couldn't stop talking about even to before he passed. He would always remember what we did in Jade Palace. We remember all the things, all the people that we met. He went on to do karaoke at the pub in Bel Mateo, and Ross' last few weeks of his life, he wasn't the same person anymore. He was such a robust person, but when I look back, he really wasn't living. He wasn't enjoying his life anymore. I couldn't even get him to go out. I want to thank Bernie. She helped me so much with him, with his medication and his food, and fighting with him to eat properly, and he wouldn't. So I was really happy to be able to spend his last day with him, but it was so hard because I know he missed all his friends and he wanted his friends to be with him. The best thing I could do was do the FaceTime thing, which I'm so glad so many of you did. But I know he heard you because he would smile and he would nod. He's in a better place now, but we all do miss him. So I thank you all for coming. And if you have anything to say, please do.
Good morning. My name is Ray Jew. I've been friends with Ross for a little over 70 years now. And reflecting back, it goes back to the time we started grammar school at Commodore Stockton, on to Francisco Junior High, then high school at George Washington. We then enrolled in the Navy, U.S. Naval Air, in the reserves, and we went into active duty in 1954. We served the first year and a half far away, as far as Moffett Field down Palo Alto. Fortunately, the last half a year of our term, we were then went overseas on a carrier, Yorktown, for the last half year to the Far East, which was like a paid vacation at that time for us. We had great times. I really don't want to delve into too much of what we did in the Navy, but you can imagine being sailors, wild sailors. But anyway, thinking back, all these years, I really miss that guy. Ross was also the godfather to my daughter Lisa, who unfortunately is not here today because she resides in Kauai. But I know deep in her heart, she misses him as well. I can't think of many more things that I would like to say on his behalf, but just want to say I will truly miss him. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Bernie. Ross has known me way before I knew him. He and my dad used to do music together. And I've seen him around but never paid any attention. I was still in school. So one day, my dad came from Hawaii and he said, I know this guy Ross. I said, you do? Yeah, he used to come over to the house. And I took him to Ross's karaoke and they were talking, and of course, you know, the usual conversation is, you son of a bitch, where have you been and whatnot, all the good stuff. So in short, a couple of years went by and I told Ross, you know, you've known me way before I've known you. And I guess he forgot, and he said, well, show proof, you full of shit. That's the way he used to talk. And so I brought the picture, and he said, well, son of a bitch, you're the one that used to always run around the house saying you had too much to do. And my dad, in his last few years, when he left here to go to Hawaii to live, he asked me to do him a favor. He said, whatever you do, if you have a chance, take care of Ross, because he's getting up there in years. I said, Dad, that guy's going to live forever. He's got a life that's unmentionable. And my dad was right. You know, when he did get later in the years where he needed help, I remember what my father said, and I kept my word, or at least, I'm sorry, at least I tried to. He used to fight with me because all he wanted was to eat burritos. And his favorite place, believe it or not, and Nicole knows this well, we called Nicole and said, he told Nicole, I want a burrito from this place called To Go. Poor Nicole, running up and down El Camino looking for this place to go. She said, Uncle Ross, there is no place to go. There was no place. I said, okay, I'll go take him. I got in the car, picked him up, went down and took him to go. As we were passing, he said, yeah, it's right there, right there. So I turned around and as I turned in, I said, Ross, what's wrong with you? It's not To Go, it's Taco. Taco Bell. He goes, and he does this. Oh. And that's not the only thing. They'd meet up with Dan and Rob every week. And then he said, well, can you take me? I said, yeah, I'll take you. He goes, where are you guys eating tonight? He said, oh, we're going to go eat at Spices. Spices? Where's Spices? He goes, it's in San Bruno's, right there next to Kaiser, you know, by the bank. And I already knew what he was talking about. When you talk to Ross, you got to go how he thinks. I pull in and go, is this the place, Ross? He go, yeah, Spices. I go, Ross, that's not Spices, that's Chili's, you know, the little pepper. I go, that's not so. He go, that's his favorite thing. But he always loved his burrito. He fought me to the bitter end. I take him to the doctors and he'd complain. Take him for his medication, he'd complain. But you know what? He's glad that when he used to go out, I used to take him out for a ride and go grab a bite to eat. I will miss him. May you rest in peace. Now you're with Paul, you can have coffee all day. He's with my dad too. God bless. Good morning. Since we're talking about Uncle Ross's sense of humor and his comedy, the first thing that comes to my mind about Uncle Ross was when I first met him, where I was in between vows, and I believe that's where I met him at. And then sometimes I would go to his show at the pub. And I was kind of like having a little rough time. And he would tell me, "Oh, don't worry about it." He goes, "I got your back." And he would pull out this card. You guys know what card I'm talking about? It's what? How do you say it? The NP. It's a. Well, anyway, he would pull out this card and tell me that I was well protected. And a couple of times over the years, I would sit with Uncle Ross, and he would say, I guess he loved the ladies. And if you were blonde, tall, and beautiful looking, he would look up at me and say, "You know what, Leela?" He goes, "Yeah, I can clam that letter right there. I likes that right there." And I was like, "Uncle Ross, what are you talking about?" He'd go, "That's a fine one right there. I would love to clam that letter." So, I mean, Uncle Ross had a good sense of humor. And I just wanted to say, may he rest in peace. We're going to miss him.
Good afternoon. My name is Anna. Uncle Ross. When I first met him, everybody was saying that he introduced himself as Raul, the lady killer. But when I got to know him, I got to know him as Uncle Ross. He loved his karaoke family, Thursday and Friday at the pub. He loved his holidays, and every holiday he would call me up and he'd say, "Anna, we got a Halloween party to do. What do you want me to buy for the decorations?" Or the Valentine's Day parties, or St. Patty's Day. He would go all out with his karaoke shows at the pub to decorate and make people feel at home. And the Polynesian community loved him. He was so good. He was kind and gentle and funny. We used to go in the back, the side door of the pub, and smoke. And he'd tell me stories about his childhood, about when he was 12 and they stole a Cadillac and drove cross country to Nevada, or the times that he was in a brothel, and I'm going, what? Yeah, I ran that show. But I wish I had a tape recorder for every time he told me stories about his childhood, because they were hilarious. And I so enjoyed listening to them as much as he enjoyed telling them. And I just missed the hell out of him. He would pick me up in his van. The scary part was the times that he would pick me up, he had cataracts. He started having cataracts. And I would say, "Uncle Ross, when are you going to take care of the cataract?" "Oh, I'm fine. No bother." And the next thing I hear, he tells me he got into a wreck. His cataracts. I said, okay. So after he gets his other car, he calls me up. We're going to Bel Mateo, I think. And I said, "How's your cataracts?" "Oh, they fixed. Okay." So we get into the car and I'm praying. I have my rosary. Because this man is crazy. But we get there safely. But he's come and pick me up. We go to the shows. He dropped me off. A lot of times we would go and eat. He loved to eat after every show, hang out, talk about the night, all the crazy people we'd meet, all the fun things we did. And that was Uncle Ross. And I just love him to death. And I wish I had spent a little bit more time with him when he was ill. But because I don't drive, and thank goodness I don't drive, but I know he's up there with his favorite goddaughter, Mandy, his family, his karaoke family, all our karaoke friends that have passed away these years. And karaoke's not going to be the same. The world's not going to be the same because Uncle Ross is departed. And may he rest in peace and love. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Carol, and I met Ross at the pub, probably in '96, I think. Became good friends with him, loved his stories, as did everyone. And I was raised a very conservative, fundamentalist little Baptist girl, never used profanity in my life. You know, we'd say things like, oh, guy, when we, instead of oh, God or something. And I think Ross helped prepare me for my teenager's years because he could conjugate the F word every way possible, and say things and make me laugh. And it's funny, if I'm quoting Ross, I'm not the least bit uncomfortable using profanity because it was the way Ross spoke. But I personally don't use profanity. And Bernie and I were talking on the phone, and she was crying and say she felt like she failed her dad's promise to take care of Ross. And excuse me, but I'm quoting what Ross would say. I said, if Ross were here right now, he'd say, what the fuck are you crying for? I'm the one that's dead. That's just the way Ross was. And he was so genuinely a straight shooter. I may disagree with people politically, religiously, whatever, but if they're who they truly are and they're a straight shooter, I like them. People who are genuine, and he was the real thing. He used to ask me to sing the ABBA song, I Have a Dream. And one night, I always had him join me, and one night I said, Ross, I don't peg you for being a religious man. Do you believe there's something after death? And he goes, I don't know. He said, but I figure what's the harm in hoping? He said, I like the words of this song. So in case you don't know the song, I'm not going to sing it. But it's I Have a Dream, a song to sing to help me cope with anything. If you see the wonder of a fairy tale, you can take the future even if you fail. I believe in angels, something good in everything I see. I believe in angels. When I know the time is right for me, I'll cross the stream, I have a dream. And the second one talks about pushing through the darkness and so forth. And he'd sit on his stool and then start swinging his legs and singing the song. And, I said, I like that you like that song. He said, well, you never know. You never know. So I think he believed there was something after death. As he said, he just didn't know. And the other thing at the pub and at Belmateo, he used to ask me to sing Roy Rogers and Dale Evans' song, Happy Trails. Happy trails to you till we meet again. I think of that whenever I think of Ross, and I smile and picture him, as did Bernie, with those from the karaoke world that have already passed. Hawaiian George, Marco Boy, Paul, just everybody. He brought such joy to so many people, and he had a real soft spot for young people who were disenfranchised from their families for whatever reasons, because Ross had a very tough upbringing. And he would call somebody and say, hey, can you take a kid for a week or two until the court sorted out where this child could be placed? He took under his wing 3 that I know of in the years that I knew him and made sure they got proper public services, would slip them money to help them through tough times. He had a good heart. So that's my favorite things about Ross. I learned to swear thanks to Ross.
Hi, I'm Greg, and Uncle Ross was my godfather. And, he was more than a godfather. My parents got divorced when I was very young. And, during my younger years, I needed that father figure. And he was like a father to me. His family took me in, I lived with him, and I think I was the prototype for what you're talking about, of him taking in children that needed help and needed support. My mother did a fantastic job with me as a single mom, but I needed that male figure. And, Uncle Ross was that person for me. And I hear all these stories about him driving and being scary and stuff. He was the person who taught me how to drive. Thank goodness before cataract, right? But you would think, with his experience with Muni, he would tell me about how he would go and teach all the Muni drivers how to drive out in Candlestick, in the parking lots. Well, he took me on the Bay Bridge to teach me how to drive. This is crazy, right? I'm 12 years old. I'm not 16. I'm 12 years old, and he's taking me on the Bay Bridge to teach me how to drive and park in the city and the avenues. But, he was just so special to me all the years. Originally, I wasn't going to come up here and talk because it's just too emotional for me. But all of you inspired me with all your stories. And I just know how much it means to all of us. We're just going to miss him. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Serena, in case anybody doesn't know who I am, but I'm Bernie's daughter. And I want Uncle Ross to know that thank you for showing me what it's like to have a dad. I mean, I have my dad, but I don't have that kind of relationship with him or that male figure in my life, but he's the one who showed me what it's like to have a dad, or at least the dad I wanted. Thank you.
Hello. In case you don't know me, I'm Lindsay Laurent, and I met Ross around 2012 when I started going to Val's, and then 16 Mile, where I met many of you. But Ross always brought such friendship and loyalty and laughter and fun, and he was just such a special individual that I don't have, I mean, I have a lot of funny stories, but I think many of you have already heard them. But what I wanted to do is one thing he always wanted me to do for him, and he asked me, was he would always at Bel Mateo on Veterans Day have his memorial for them. He was such a big supporter for any veteran anywhere. We could be walking, you know, on the street, anywhere, not at the clubs or wherever, anywhere. And if he saw someone, whether they had a hat on that he knew that they were service or not, he would just say, I know that person is, I'll be right back. And he'd go over and he'd then sit down with them and talk and talk and talk. He just wanted to be there for anyone that he thought needed him. And so many of us did in so many different ways. And he was just so loyal and such a good friend. But what I wanted to do, because he always wanted me to do the prayers there for the veterans, is I just wanted to say a quick little prayer for him. It's just spontaneous, but if you could close your eyes. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together here to honor our dear, sweet friend, Ross Tom, in a memorial for him and for his family and his friends. Thank you for bringing him into our lives. Thank you for all you've done to make his life shine above and into places of such darkness. Please watch out for him up there. Take him under your wing. I know you already have. But I'm so glad he's up there with family and friends and people that we all miss. But now he's up there taking care of them too. I just wanted to say thank you, Lord, for blessing us with such a wonderful person and a wonderful friend. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
I'm Linda, Greg's mom. I wasn't planning to speak today, but listening to all the memories, I have two fond memories of Uncle Ross. When I was going through my divorce, Uncle Ross came over every weekend, and got Greg and spent the whole weekend with Greg and brought him home on Sunday night, I think it was. And one night Greg came home and he used the term, well, fornicate you. And I said, Greg, where did you learn that? And he goes, Uncle Ross and Auntie Addie said it's okay to say that. I go, oh, okay. And my other memory of Uncle Ross was, you know, he wore dentures. And he always liked to take them out and smile or whatever, play with them. And I remember we just had dinner, I think, end of January. And he still did it. I'm looking at him, and he took them out, and he gives me this big grin, and his dentures are out. And I go, oh my God, he's still doing that. So those are my favorite memories today that I can remember to share with you.
Hi, it's Anna again. I just had the need to do this song for him. Every time he always requested this song, so excuse the off key, but I'll do my best. I wish you bluebirds in the spring to give your heart a song to sing, and then a kiss, but more than this, I wish you love. And in July, a lemonade to cool you in some leafy glade. I wish you health but more than wealth, I wish you love. My breaking heart, and I agree that you and I could never be. So with my best, my very best, I set you free. I wish you shelter from the storm, a cozy fire to keep you warm. But most of all, when snowflakes fall, I wish you love. Rest in peace, Uncle Ross. I love you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Roger Gutierrez, and when I heard about Uncle Ross's passing, broke my heart. And I think it was when I first moved out here from Long Beach that I wanted to check out what karaoke is about out here. And Rossi, I call him Rossi, by the way, because that's my endearment towards him. He was very, very sweet, just with Linda as well, but he had this charm about him, and he had this golden heart that he just gave to you. And he was one of the first people that I actually met, and that I say, oh, this person's really sweet. Talks about his experiences with being a veteran. And he always had this collection of pictures of the people that he loved. And it was on a rubber band, encased, and he would show it and share. And he was proud of these people that were in those pictures and all the events that he went through. And especially these two people in his life. It was a young girl, and unfortunately she had passed away. I don't know the names anymore. And then there was another one who actually, I think they were related. I don't know if it was a mom. But she too passed away. But Ross, was a dear heart. And I always saw him as like a father. Like someone you could come to and talk to, no problem. I think, as Lindsay mentioned, the whole veteran appreciation that he had because he was a vet, We talked about that, And, he would always think about these individuals, and he had the gatherings at the Bel Mateo. And so one time I said, I'm gonna go visit that. I think Lindsay was there. So I spiced up and prepared the Elvis song, what was that? Trilogy, American Trilogy. And I did that for him, actually. So I did my old Elvis voice, you know what I mean? So, in any case, as time went through, I see that, he was such a great guy. And came New Year's Eve, and the first New Year's Eve I'd been there, I participated. And, when it came down to the ringing of, midnight, he came to me and he says, I really appreciate that I met you. He said that to me, and I never will forget that, because that's something, that came from the heart and the soul. And for me, I give it back to you, because now you're going to stay with me throughout my life. And that's what I feel about him. It's unfortunately that, it came down to where, he was going through this passage and his towards his journey towards another journey. He's going to be in somewhere else. He's in another place, and it's a good place. And but every time I saw him, gave him a hug. He's the first guy to see on the entrance of Bel Mateo. He was the first guy that's introduced me to valves. He says, "Come on over. I want you to enjoy this place, And I did enjoy the place, and I think I met Lindsay the first time. He used to call her my blondie. So, and it was great. He was the first person to introduce me to valves. I didn't know about valves and stuff like that. I'm a San Franciscan, yes, but I didn't know this other area, So, but these are great memories, and that will never go away. And they're cherished inside of me. I just want to tell him, Rossi, there's a lot of people here that love you. I love you. And I will miss your great encounters. But fact of the matter is, there's going to be a time when we'll see each other again. Everybody's going to see each other again. And I'll be there to hug you. And I tell him I love him, and I do love him. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to share their experiences, Ross? I'd like to thank all of you for coming today and for celebrating and remembering Ross. I've only known Ross for 12 years, but when you hear what other people say about Ross, it just touches your heart. It really does. I see him in one segment of his life, and you sharing all your thoughts with me, it was just overwhelming, and so thank you very much. I'd like to thank Barbara for facilitating today, and everyone else who has chipped in, and we'll be headed to Val's afterwards, and Ross is actually the KJ there today, so but we'd like to thank all of you for sharing this moment with Ross. And Ross, we love you. We're going to miss you. And in time, we will join you. Okay. Thank you.
Family and friends, I want to thank you for attending the services for Mr. Ross Tom. And like the gentleman said, there is a reception following the service at Val's Restaurant. Thank you very much.